do you create results? This is like the age-old question that every entrepreneur wants to know. And today I'm going to break down for you what I have found works really well for my clients, and I'm going to show you how to create results. So whether you are trying to grow your business in general, or you want to create more customers, or you want a bigger audience, or whatever goal that you have in entrepreneurship, I'm going to show you how to actually turn that into a result today. Okay, so I'm going to give you straight up the answer and then we're going to break it down. So how you create results is you have to take result producing action. And that might sound really obvious and really silly because it's like, obviously you have to take action. But I want to really stress that it's not just general action. It is an action that actually creates a result. Most entrepreneurs are not doing this, or if they are, they're not doing it enough. And even myself, I know I can be doing it better and better. So I'm asking myself all the time the same questions that I'm going to ask you today. So there are two reasons why you're not taking result producing action. The first one is you haven't identified what the result producing action actually is. And the second one is that you might have identified it, but you're not doing it. And we're going to solve both of those today. Okay, so let's dive into the first one, and that is figuring out the result producing action. So first I want you to think about what result you actually want. Do you have it in your head? Think about the specific result that you want. The result producing action for the result that you want is the action that comes directly before the result. So imagine if you're a basketball player, the result is getting the ball into the basket or the hoop, I don't know what it's called, and the action that comes directly before that is to shoot the ball. That is the result producing action. So you could be a basketball player and be training at the gym for hours, and you could be running up and down the court, and you could be defending really, really well. But if you never actually shoot the ball into the basket, you're not going to create the result that you want. And I know this might sound really obvious, but it is so amazing how few people are actually doing the result producing actions. So what is the action that comes directly before the result you want? Let's take the example of creating customers. The action directly before the result would be to ask people to buy from you. You have to, in some way or another, ask people. That might be on a billboard or it might be in a conversation, but you have to ask. There's no way you can create a customer without asking. But if that's your result, I want you to think right now, how much time are you spending asking people to buy from you? My guess is if you don't have the result you want, not enough. If you were a professional basketballer, you wouldn't shoot one basketball into the hoop once a week. And yet that's how so many entrepreneurs run their business. They're like, well, I sent out a newsletter. That at the bottom, it said something about working with me. It's like, no, you have to ask people a lot. And that's just one of the results you might want to create in entrepreneurship, but you want to be thinking, what is the action that comes directly before the result, and am I doing it enough? Okay, that is how you figure out the result producing action, by looking at what result you want and the action that comes directly before that result. Now we get to look at why you aren't doing it. Unfortunately, knowing what you need to do isn't enough. If it was, then I would be for sure out of a job. My whole business is set up around helping people take action and do what they say they're going to do, because I really believe this is the biggest challenge that entrepreneurs face, and almost nobody is talking about it. Everyone is talking about all of the different things you should be doing and all the funnels and all the different ways you can sell people and all of that. And I'm like, the focus needs to be on getting yourself to actually execute it. Because if you think about an amazing entrepreneur like Steve Jobs, for example, he wasn't amazing just because of his good ideas. He was amazing because of his execution, because of how he showed up and executed the iPhone. Oh my gosh, so grateful for my iPhone. Just a little thank you to Steve Jobs there. Okay, so now that you know the action, there's a good chance that your brain's not going to want to do it. And so we're going to address that right now. There are 5 different reasons why you might not execute this, because there are 5 reasons that we procrastinate. And if you want to find out which one happens for you the most, go to my website, saraharnoldhall.com, because I have a procrastination quiz and you're going to find out which one of these 5 things I'm about to tell you is like your kryptonite. Which one's the one? Is that the right word? I don't know. Is it Batman? No, hang on. Spider-Man? Okay, I am not in the world of, I can't even think of what that's called, like cartoons. I don't even know. That's how out of that world I am. I can't even tell you what that's called. Superhero movies. That's what I'm saying. The point I'm making is that you're going to find out which one you struggle with the most if you go to my website. So you can take the quiz there at saraharnoldhall.com. Okay, so let's dive into the 5 different things that are stopping you from taking action. The first one is confusion. If your brain is going to tell you, I don't really know how to do it though, that's how you know you're confused. But here's the thing. You absolutely do know, because I could ask a 5-year-old how to do the action that you have set. For example, if it's asking people to buy from you, a 5-year-old could come up with an answer. The challenge is that your brain is telling you it needs to be perfect, or it needs to be done in a certain way, or it needs to be scalable. And I'm always like, the scalable thing drives me mad actually, because I'm like, you don't need to figure out how to scale before you've made your first sale. And if you have created something and you've been doing this for a long time, you don't need to work out how to scale until you have so many customers. This process, this taking action doesn't need to be scalable. It needs to be doable right now. You will figure out a way to scale later. When you're at that problem, face that problem. But probably right now, that's not your challenge. Right now, your challenge is getting yourself to do the things that actually create the results. So don't try to solve any problems that do not exist yet. What do you need to do? You absolutely do know. I know you know, because I've coached hundreds of people who tell me they don't know, and then when I ask them what it is, they absolutely know. Straight away. Well, I actually need to just post on Facebook, or I actually just need to phone up a friend, or I actually just need to go into a supermarket and ask someone. Don't let your brain indulge in confusion. Tell it, I know exactly what to do, and then go and do it. Okay, the second thing that might be stopping you from taking action is overwhelm. Overwhelm comes up when we're thinking there's too much to do. And here's what I want to tell you. You're not going to do every result-producing action that you could be taking, because there's a lot of results you could be creating right now. You just want to focus on the one result that you're going to create in the next week. For example, if you're like, I want a customer in the next week, what do I need to do? I need to ask people. That's it. That's where your whole focus can go. And maybe you've got other things that you have to do as well, but they don't get the priority. The priority is creating the result. The priority is doing the result-producing action of asking people. If you think about a basketballer and they're playing a game, they've got to defend, they've got to run up and down the court, but the priority is to get the ball into the basket. So how can you simplify this so much that it can take like 1 minute a day? Most result-producing actions are really small. They're not actually these huge things. They actually don't take a whole lead up of things. So sometimes people will say, well, I can't possibly ask people because I don't have leads and I need to first create a website and first a lead magnet and all of those things. And it's like, you don't. You just need to ask. Right now, your job is to just do that one action and not everything else that could lead up to it. Okay, the third reason you might not be taking action is self-doubt. I used to feel this a lot when I first started. You know you're feeling this if your brain is saying, who am I to do this? But here's what I want to offer you. You're not supposed to feel qualified when you begin. You're supposed to feel like you don't know what you're doing. That's the whole point. That's what growth is. You become qualified by doing the thing over and over and over. You don't have to be Michael Jordan the first time you shoot a basket. You just have to shoot a basket. And then maybe one day you'll become Michael Jordan. Who knows? But if you never allow yourself to start, you will never become qualified. So don't do 100 affirmations in the mirror and tell yourself why you're qualified now, because the truth is, all you have to do is go out and help someone with your product or your service. You don't need to be ultra qualified. You just need to help. I was so unqualified when I started my business. I had no business doing business. I was like 21 years old. Everyone told me. I knew. Everyone thought it. But I just kept helping And that's how I got to where I am today, in a much more qualified position to be helping people because I just started. And you know what? I was actually okay when I first started. I was all right. I did a good job. I helped some people, and that's what matters. Okay, the fourth thing that might be stopping you is fear. Your brain might be saying, but what if I fail? And here's what I want to offer. You're gonna fail for sure. You're gonna try and shoot that ball into the basket and it's not gonna go in. And you're gonna try again. And you're gonna try again and you're gonna try again. Because the result doesn't have to come from taking action once. The result can come from taking action over and over and over again. But that's why we want to take the simplest, most straightforward action you possibly can so that you can keep doing it over and over. And so if you ask someone to buy from you and they say no, that's okay. Ask someone else. What matters is not how many times you fail, but what you make it mean about who you are when you fail. So I had a client recently tell me he was going to fail a ton. When I asked him, like, what's your plan? He's like, my plan is to fail. And I love that because I'm like, he was clearly not making it mean anything about him or his abilities to fail. He made failure mean that he was still showing up, and that was part of the plan. There are writers who keep a rejection folder full of letters that they have received that are rejections to remind them that they are showing up. And that way, you don't need the world to be guaranteed because you guarantee that you keep showing up no matter what. And that is what makes you win in the end, even though you're failing in the beginning. For sure, you're going to fail, but that is also how you're going to succeed. Success is built on a pile of failures. And the more you cannot get the ball into the basket, the more you eventually will. Okay, and the fifth reason that you're not taking action is lethargy. Your brain is telling you, I just don't feel like doing it. And here's the thing. Your brain is wrong. When I realized that my brain is telling me it doesn't want to do it because it doesn't realize the reward that is available, that is when things changed for me. Like, our brains are wired to take action for a reward. But because we've been taking a ton of action that doesn't produce results, because we've been doing all these other actions, our brain is like, yeah, I don't really feel like doing that thing. It's probably not going to create a result. But you have to remind yourself that, oh no, this time it's different. We're taking result-producing action. We're taking the action that comes directly before the result. So that means I'm going to see a result. And whether I see it right now or I see it after a few times of trying or a ton times of trying, I'm going to get this result and it is going to be so worth it. Anytime your brain tells you, I don't feel like doing it, you tell it right back, yes, I do. Of course I want this. Of course I want to create this result. It's going to be so good. You just have to believe me, brain, that this result is coming when I take this action. And listen, we can't blame the brain. Of course it doesn't think it's going to happen because it hasn't happened so far because you haven't been taking result-producing action, but this time it's different. This time you're going to create the results that you want. Okay, so if you want to go deeper into how to solve any one of those 5 challenges, confusion, overwhelm, self-doubt, fear, or lethargy, make sure you take the quiz because when you take the quiz, you'll also get a procrastination crash course, which I dive deep into exactly how to overcome each one of those things in a longer training than this. So make sure you do that at my website, saraharnoldhall.com. Okay, so now you know what your result-producing action is. All you have to do is go and do it. I promise you, if you take more actions that are directly before the result that you want, you will create so many results so much faster than you've ever seen before. It really is that simple if you do it. Okay, go take some result-producing action this week, and I will talk to you in the next episode.